It still stings, doesn't it? If I look tired, it's because I am tired. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I can't sleep. I've been watching Netflix to try and distract myself from everything, but I can't sleep. So I thought I'm going to go record tomorrow morning's video. It'll be a bit of a therapy session for me, speaking to you guys through my webcam. Then I'm going to go to sleep, wake up in the morning, and it's probably going to still sting. Anyway, this video isn't a review of the game. I don't want to talk about Alex Creswell. I don't want to talk about substitutions or lack of substitutions. I don't want to talk about the referee or anything like that. This is more of an overview of the Europa League campaign and about moving forward to make sure that we've got more Europa League campaigns, that we have European football at West Ham, and it almost becomes the norm to some extent that this isn't the end of the story, that the Europa League campaign is over for this season, but it's about making sure that this is the start of something, that what we've experienced this season is another chapter and there's more chapters to go. I feel like we're at a pivotal point of West Ham United. What do we do now? What do we do in the summer? Because there is a mini rebuild job that's required. There's some players moving on at the end of their contract. Our captain is leaving the club. We've got some players that Moyes probably wants to move on. We've got a couple of vacant positions already prior to any of those departures. There's already 1 or 2 positions that need either upgraded or filled. So it's a busy summer coming up for West Ham United, and it feels an important summer coming up for West Ham United. But in the build up to this game, David Moyes has been speaking this week about how he wants European football to be a thing we just get used to at West Ham almost, that this isn't a one-off season campaign. Couldn't want more than that as a fan. That's exactly what we want. Declan Rice after the game talking about how we will be back, not just I will be back, we will be back, as in him and West Ham United, hopefully together in the same team. But he was talking about it, and it's important that we are back, and we've got to do something that's quite difficult now, and that is get ourselves up for Sunday. We've got 3 Premier League games to go: Norwich, Man City, Brighton, and we've got to make sure that while 6 is extremely unlikely after Man United beat Brentford, we have to make sure that Man United do slip up, which there's a high probability. You know, they've been slipping up constantly for weeks now, as has Arsenal and Spurs, as have we, as have Tottenham. We're just not been capitalising on each other's mistakes. Wolves have had more of a positive impact on our likelihood to have European football next season than we have in the last 3 or 4 weeks, because of them getting beat, because we've been getting beat as well, but because they have, we haven't really been losing any ground. Now, while 6 is unlikely, we've got to make sure that Man United do slip up between now and then this season. We take advantage of it. We have to. The management team's going to struggle, the players are going to struggle, even the fans are going to struggle for Sunday, but we've got to get up for it, get 3 points against Norwich. Next week, we've got to give Martin Noble a top send-off. That's something Declan did that was naughty, didn't he? I watched that interview, and I was fine watching him until he said that we wanted to do it for Noble. My bottom lip was almost quivering. Declan, you naughty boy, putting that in there, and that hit me in the heart. I'll tell you that for free. And then, of course, we've got our boogie team Brighton at the end of the season. But it's important that we have some form of European football next season. I know not everybody is a fan of the Europa Conference League. I still don't get it, but I get it. And this video, I'm not going to try and convince you. I might do that if we finish 7th, which is probable. But if we finish 7th, I might do a video trying to convince the people that aren't keen on the competition to be keen on the competition. But I think it's important that we have some form of European football next season. Will it change our sex appeal to some of the players that David Moyes wants? Possibly. I'm not sure. I think Champions League and Europa League, I think there's a big gulf anyway. I think a lot of players are obviously persuaded by the Champions League. Is there a big difference between the Europa League and Europa Conference League to players? I mean, there will be for some, but I doubt it's for all of them. I'd imagine some of them aren't too bothered, whereas I think the percentage difference between Champions League and Europa League is greater than of the Europa League and the Europa Conference League. Anyway, big summer coming up. We've also got some players moving on at the end of their contract, some players that David Moyes would like to move on as well. And we've also got some vacancies. There's some spots in our team needing filled or upgraded before any departures. So once you add in those, it's a mini rebuild job that David Moyes has got on his hands, and it's important that we get it right, that we don't waste money and that we buy efficiently. Because we saw with Vlasic, I did a video a couple of days ago about it, but last night we need 2 goals in the Europa League semi-final. We still don't see him. We can't afford that next season. We can't afford to buy players for 25 million and almost give them a whole season off before we ask them to settle in and contribute. Now, I've always said, rule of thumb, when we buy someone from overseas, when we bring them in, I won't judge them until their second season. But I expect to see something in the first season. But if that's the case, then we've got to make sure that we're only buying domestically then in the summer, which I know we can't do and we won't do. But we need to be buying players in the summer that's going to make an impact next season, because I think that's part of the issue that we fell short a little bit, listening to Declan Rice after the game about how we've got a small squad. And I'm not going to bang on about the January transfer window, that I'm not, because I'm trying to look forward to the summer one already. It's about moving forward now. But listening to what Declan Rice was saying, we can't afford to buy players and not use them next season. We've done it with 2 players this season with Vlasic and Kral. We can't afford it for next season. Now, the reason I think this Europa League campaign is important, while it's all giving us all a taste of the honey, like Pablo Fernales has been suggesting, and the players as well. But I think the one thing that's important tonight, I've been remembering tonight, I was remembering it during the game because it felt like the game was over after they made it 1-0 really. The second half was quite a tough watch actually. It was almost just watching the knife get twisted, wasn't it? But during it I was reflecting on how far we've come, and it prevented any anger in my body last night. I was sad. I was honestly heartbroken when it went 1-0. When Creswell got sent off and then it went 1-0 10 minutes later, it was not a nice feeling. But there was no anger in me or anything like that, just sadness really. And then pride followed. Pride of the boys. I still am proud of the boys, I think, and the club, everyone at West Ham United, of how far we've come in the last 2 years. And that's what I was almost doing in the second half to some extent while watching it, reflecting on how far we've come and how proud I am of the boys. But that's why this can't be a one-off. I've tasted it now. I want to keep tasting the honey, Pablo. I want the honey again next season, that European football, next season, the season after. I want to be a regular contender. And it's important that we do almost what Leicester City have done. When Leicester City had that season in 2016 when they went and won the Premier League, but they capitalised on it. Perhaps, obviously, they haven't gone on to win it again, but since then they've had a Champions League campaign, they've won the FA Cup, they've just got to the semi-finals of that Europa Conference League. And you would imagine, I mean, they've had quite a poor season domestically, although they can still catch us because they've got 5 games in hand. Well, not in hand, they've got 5 games to go for this season. While they've had a relatively poor domestic campaign, you'd certainly expect them to be in and around the top 10 again next season, wouldn't you? Just because of the infrastructure that's in place, because of the culture that's in place at Leicester City now. And that's what we need to put in. When we moved to the London Stadium, part of the PR campaign, part of the persuasion tools used by the club to convince fans that moving to the London Stadium was the right thing, was that whole next level tag that was getting bandied about. The problem was no one actually clarified what the next level was, and everybody's got their own different interpretation of it. For myself, it was just being a Premier League team, just not fighting relegation every season, just being, I don't know, 12th and above comfortably, being free of relegation. That was the next level for me, stability as a Premier League club. And I feel like we've skipped that step. I feel like in the last couple of seasons, we've just jumped ahead to, we've gone from relegation battling to qualifying for European football. We've skipped it. And that is obviously credit to David Moyes and the boys. And that's why, at the minute, I feel sadness and pride rather than any anger or frustration or disappointment or anything like that. And I think it helps that when I grew up, when my dad was sort of teaching me about West Ham, it was almost important that we're not here for glory. We don't necessarily win things, but you expect everybody to give 100%, and that's what I witnessed tonight. We got beat, but everybody gave 100%. So I think to some extent I'm okay with that. If all 10 players gave 100%, that's all we can ask for. But the next level thing is what I was talking about before I got distracted by myself, is we skipped ahead. We're competing for European football, really, and I think that's a tremendous achievement. But it's important now that we stay there, that we stay competing for European football. We have to take advantage of this success over the last 2 seasons, because while we haven't won anything, I will always argue success can be measured in various different ways. I think Crystal Palace can claim they've had a successful season. They're going to finish in the bottom half of the Premier League, but they've got moved on to some of the older players. They've got in young players. The football's really good. They got to the semi-final FA Cup. It's a successful season. They haven't won anything, but it's successful. We've had a successful campaign, 2 campaigns, qualifying for European football. It would probably need to qualify for European football again for me to label the league campaign up as a success. But getting to the Europa League semi-final is something to be proud of, and something I am proud of. And we fell short, and obviously we know the reasons why. We've all got our reasons as to why we think we have been eliminated at the semi-final stage. But we've done bloody well to get here. Like I said, we skipped ahead. Moyes has come in, and when Moyes came in, he basically said, I've got a long-term plan for West Ham. And all of a sudden, it was like, whoa, hang on a minute, this was almost the year 4 on my plan. We're in year 2. What's going on here? I haven't had time to implement the things I want to implement before reaching this stage. We've had to speed up a lot of the processes at West Ham. But it feels like we're in a good place now. And what is now, it's about making sure that we have European football for next season. But next season, we then go again and qualify for European football. You'd imagine it's going to be more difficult when you look at some of the clubs round about us, the likes of Arsenal or Tottenham. You get the sense they're strengthening and they're improving all the time. You're looking in the Premier League at the minute, you would expect Newcastle United to be a lot closer to 4th in the bottom, 4th from bottom next season. So it's going to get more difficult. But that's why it's important now that this summer we capitalise on this relative success that we've had over the last couple of seasons, because otherwise we'll get left behind. We will then get kicked back down into sort of mid-table in the Premier League, which there's nothing wrong with. That was the next level probably for me, moving to London Stadium, but we've skipped it. We went to the second next level, and I like it here. I want European football. I have enjoyed this campaign. This Sevilla game at the London Stadium will live with me forever now. It's up there with the last ever game at the Bowling Ground. The atmosphere, the noise, the feelings, not being able to talk the next day, getting almost flashbacks to songs and moments in the game while you're just going about your day on the Friday. That Sevilla game will live with me forever. Football for me is about memories. You put a lot into football. Time, money, effort. You put loads of stuff into football. In return, what I always want is just memories. I want memories in return. And I've got some this season. I have. And I can't say that about every season since we've gone to the London Stadium. Not many. And usually the memories are bad. But there have been some good ones. But they're usually to stay in the Premier League. Mark Noble scored on this day. So what was it? When did we play? It was the 5th. It was the 5th yesterday. Mark Noble scored twice in our history on that day. That volley against Leicester City, but also against Bolton when we beat Bolton 3-1. Young Mark Noble, obviously. Carlos Tevez scored in that game, and he set up Mark Noble, chipped it, and Mark Noble came running in from the box and volleyed it. That's, I guess it shows how far Mark Noble's come. He didn't even play today. But my point is, the memories at London Stadium haven't always been great so far, have they? But in the last couple of years, they've been bloody good, and that Sevilla one is special. I want more special ones, and to do that, we need European football. To do that, we've got to get ourselves up for Norwich City, and then in the summer, go out there and just do a little bit better than we did last summer and in the January transfer window. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now and I'm going to go to bed. If you've enjoyed this video, do drop a like on, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Myself and Gonz will be back tonight with the preview of the Norwich City game. Catch you in a bit.